Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of The Things I've Learned from Barry Harris. My name is Chris, and I've been a student of Barry's since 1993. And I thought that I might make a channel to explain some of the things, obviously, that I've learned from Barry over the years that have been super helpful and super insightful to learning how to improvise and learning how to tackle soloing over certain things. So for episode 1, I thought we would start with a very important thing, which is the blues. We're going to choose the key of C to get started, and we're going to learn how Barry approaches, or at least how he approaches teaching, getting the sounds of the chord changes in your ear so as to be able to improvise more fluently and make sense of it. So the first thing we have to do is we have to know what scales we have to know how to play in order to be able to accomplish this. The first scale, since we're going to choose the key of C, is you have to know how to play your C7 scale. Now, there are certain things that Barry talks about when he says running scales up and down. One of the things is when he says run a scale up, he only means tonic to 7. So in other words, if we're playing a C7 scale, it means C up to B flat. He doesn't do tonic to tonic. So to give you an example, here's C7 scale. That's tonic to flat 7, so the C to B flat. So that's one thing that you have to know when he's talking about running scales. So the first scale, obviously, that we have to do is C7. The second scale is going to be F7. The next scale that you're going to have to know is C major 7, up and down, which means you're going to go up and down, but instead of ending on C, we're going to end on C sharp, which happens to be the third of A. So this is the scale. The next scale that you're going to have to know is G7, which is... So those are our scales. The scales you're going to need to know are C7, F7, C major 7 up and down to the third of A. Then you're going to have to know G7. Those are the scales. So whatever instrument you're playing, those are the things you have to work on first. You have to know how to play those scales, whether it be guitar, saxophone, anything. The second thing we're going to be able to do, or we're going to work on, is playing them rhythmically correctly. That is a huge emphasis of Barry's, is that you have to really work on your rhythm. It's the number one most important thing he focuses on. So I have the metronome here set to 70. Let's see. Now I like to use the metronome on the 2 and the 4. So if we're figuring it out, it would be 1. It would be 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how I like to feel the scales. So if we take, let me just turn this off for a second. So if we take the first 2 bars of the blues, it would be a C7 scale up to an F7 scale up. So it would be C7, then F7. Then it would be C7 up and down. So if we did that together, it would sound like this. So that's the first 4 bars. The next 4 bars are going to be F7 up and down, and then that C major 7 up and down to a third of A. So let's try the F7 up and down. And now here comes that C major 7 up and down to the third of A. Now the next 4 bars are going to be G7 up and down, and then it's going to be C major 7 up, and then G7 up. So it would be this. Now C major up, then G7 up. Now you might be saying, well, wait, there's a lot of other things going on there. There's a lot of other chords. There's minor 7 chords. He's not really dealing with that. One of Barry's principles is if he sees a 2-5, and for instance in the key of C, we'll see the D minor 7 to a G7. he doesn't look at it as D minor 7 to G7. He thinks of that completely as G7 and all the beautiful things you can do on G7. So it kind of simplifies it. A lot of people approach it from, they play something on D minor and something on G7. He doesn't do that. He just stays with G7 entirely, which I find leads to a lot of other options too, which we'll eventually go over in a lot of the episodes to come. But let's try to play the 12 bars, the scales in the 12 bar blues in C. Let's get our tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Now, if you're able to do that on your instrument, that is a great start. And again, the only purpose of that is so that you start to hear the sounds of the blues changes in your head. Now, eventually I'm going to get into the tritones of some of these dominant scales and some other things that you could do. But I felt for the first episode, the blues is such an important thing, and a lot of the old-time musicians always talk about, in order to really play this music correctly, you have to know how to play a blues, you have to know how to play I Got Rhythm, and you have to know how to play, obviously standards, but a ballad like Body and Soul or something like that. So this is really important. But the blues is really the first thing that we should really look at. I'm going to make videos coming up about I Got Rhythm also. But this is extremely important. So now I happen to be doing it in C. Other common keys are F, or you should also know it in B flat. And on guitar, obviously, there's a lot of different places to play it. So if you're at that level, that's also good too, but maybe try to stay within the position that I was in. I was within about the first 5 frets of the guitar. So yeah, but that's the important thing about a blues, is that it has the very important changes in it that we all really have to work on, that are very important to any other song that we then move on to. So if you can play those scales to the blues in that tempo, you're starting off really well. But like I said, the reason why I'm making some of these videos where I felt it was important is taking Barry's class for so long. I can remember the first time I was in the class, and I think we were going over blues in F, and I remember he said play F7, and I didn't know where F7 was on the guitar, and it was super frustrating, and I was saying to myself, I love this, it sounds so beautiful, but man, I'm so far behind. But I stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it, and found some very important people who really helped me through it. And now when I go to class, I mean, I haven't been there in a while, but now when I go to class, I'm at least a little bit on top of what he's talking about. So maybe this can help you when you start to see some of his videos online and he talks about things in kind of a fast way. Hopefully all of these videos will help you to understand his language. Anyway, I think that's pretty good for the first video. Try that out. Leave me some comments in the bottom and let me know what you think of it, how I can work on these differently, any questions you have, and yeah, anyway, thanks, appreciate it. See you in episode 2, where I think we'll be working on the scales to I Got Rhythm. Thanks.